Hello and welcome to today's webinar. The topic for today's webinar is the SAP FSM Release 2302. My name is Bernhard Weismüller and I'm very happy to present to you this webinar. It will take around 20 minutes and you will be seeing this on the YouTube channel afterwards also. So sit back, relax and enjoy the presentation. Well, what's new in the release 2302? Here's an overview what I'm going to talk about today. First, I will talk about two things in the master data area, skills, and some new enhancements for crews. Then I'm going to talk about a new feature in the planning board, and the time and material journal has got a new surface with some interesting new options. Then we look at the service map enhancements, where the ESRI maps get some enhancements with route details and regions. Then we jump into the mobile area, where two new features coming in. And finally, probably one of my favorite new features of the new release called Policy Designer is coming up. Let's jump into our first topic for today. That is the master data skill-based availability of technicians. Well, skills are part of FSM since a long time, and now they have got some refreshed screen and also some new validity patterns, like a recurring pattern. It means, for example, you can define a recurring pattern, a weekly recurring pattern for a technician, so that the technician, for example, can work or has a certain skill every day except on Friday. It's just an example that I'm making, and I will show you then in the moment in the planning board how it looks like. The interesting thing comes now, because these limited skills will then also be checked in the fully automatic algorithms, but also when you do a manual planning or semi-automatic planning with find matching technicians. And this will allow you to have new planning scenarios where you will plan technicians based on a certain skill, which they only have on certain days. Let's have a look into the product itself and see how it presents itself. We can now see the planning and dispatching board, and I'm going into the master data module, where I will jump into the skills menu here on the left. I now have prepared one skill set, the streetlight repair here. Clicking on it will reveal the details here on the right-hand side. First of all, if you have added people to a certain skill, you can also edit the skill availability here by selecting the person, going into the edit mode, and then change his assignment. You have the recurring, you can make it permanent or limited for a certain time frame, or recurring, as you see here. In this case, Bernhard has a weekly schedule. He has that skill on every day except on Friday. And this will lead to the interesting consequence that when you plan it in the planning board and you will plan it to Friday, it is like the skill was not assigned to this person. And we want to look how this presents itself. So I'm going back to the planning board. And in the meantime, while it's loading, I can tell you I've already prepared a service call with the certain skill. I can show you streetlight repair. I select the activity down here, and on the right-hand side, if I look at the skills, you see I have added this streetlight repair skill, where Bernhard is having the skill on every day except on Friday. That means if I now try to plan this to Bernhard on Friday, the system will check and will see, okay, today, Friday, you don't have that specific skill. But I can also plan it then to another day. So I can say, okay, Thursday maybe, and Thursday will fit because on Thursday, Bernhard is having that skill. And you can already see how this will support for very new planning scenarios. Let's move on to the next feature, and that is also in the master data area. This is about enhancements for crews. Well, characteristics is we have a new list view in here, and the advantages of that list view is that you can more simpler edit the members, you can group them, you can filter them, you can store filters as a view, and a little bit more. I'm going to show that now in the master data module. Let's jump over here into the master data section again, but this time I'm going to open the crews menu here on the left. I've already created a crew. When I select it, you will see the assigned people here on the right-hand side, and you can see all the assigned leaders up here and the assigned members down here. Up here with the expanding button, I will now expand it to full screen to have more space. You can also edit the pattern by clicking here on the edit. Now it is in edit mode. What this will allow you to do is with the right mouse click on the members, you can, for example, remove a person from the crew or make it a crew lead. That's what I'm going to do here. And you see positions have now switched. Denholm is promoted to lead and Bernhard is degraded, let's say, to a member. With that, you can change a leader. You can't remove a leader directly. You just can make a member switch to be a lead in this area here. So let's save that. And then there is the other view, the list view, which you have to select here on the right-hand side. Clicking on it will now reveal a list view of people for this specific crew. First of all, you could filter, for example, for type, say, okay, let me show only the leaders. Click OK. It will sort out the members and only show the leaders. And with the 3 dots here at the end, you can store them as that filter as a view. As in the other parts of the planning board, it's the same idea. Let's remove the filter. Then we have a grouping option close to the filter store here. And here you could group, for example, by name. Grouping by name will reveal what you think it should do. It will show, for example, that Bernhard is a member since today, and he was a leader yesterday. You also see expired and current or future. Let's take away the grouping again. Just go on it and click on that icon. Now we want to also go into the edit mode. So I click again on that edit button up here, and I can change the members, for example. Let's assume I want to change Denholm Renholm. I will select him, and I can then edit or delete that member by moving his assignment to some other dates or make a permanent assignment from now until forever. If you select a leader, then you will see that these buttons up here, the edit and the delete button, are grayed out. Well, I'm not a big fan of that, graying out options, which don't tell you why they are grayed out, but that's why I do these webinars, to explain such things to you. And in this case, it just means it's not possible to do. It is a design decision by SAP, so it's not a mistake. The idea behind it is simple. SAP doesn't want to allow crews to stand here without leaders, and that could be possibly the case if you, let's say, remove a leader from here. Anyhow, you could add, with the add button, you could add a crew lead, and if you add a crew lead with the same validity period as another one, the old one will be replaced. Or you could also add crew members from here. And if you have done that, saved everything, the crew is available in the planning board. If you have enabled it, I can show you. It's close to where also the teams are at the end of the timeline. If you scroll all the way down, you will see the crew is here with a different icon than the teams. Up here are the teams. This is a crew. You can anyhow click on it and open the details to go into the crew setup. If you don't see any crews, then that means you have to first enable them by going into the settings and configuration area, go into the general settings, and inside the activity settings, there is the allow planning with teams or with crews or with one of them. We move on to our next feature, the planning board. That's a simple one. Planning horizon has been expanded to show 4 months. This is good news because there was quite some customers who need that. They want to have more than 2 months. So now this is done. And if you look at the planning board, no further configuration needed. This is just enhanced. You can now select up to 4 months up here, and you will have 4 months of available time here. Okay, if we now go to the next one, then this is the time and material journal. There are quite some enhancements in that area. As with many of the features I'm presenting today, also this one needs you to be in the preview mode of FSM to see it. It is a fully new interface, which was already there since some time, but has already got some enhancement with this release. As an example, you can get a sum over different kind of objects that you select. For example, you select effort and mileage together, and you create a sum over it. And also it is now easier than ever to quickly enter a new entry. For example, you want to copy a time effort for a certain activity. Let's see that also in action. For that, I'm going to show the time and material journal on the left. I'm opening it and I make sure I'm in preview mode up here. Make sure you have that selected, the preview features, so that you also see the new time and material journal overview here. Up here, you can select the different categories, the overview, the effort, the expense, the material, and the mileage. It doesn't load. Let me check. And you can, for example, create a sum. And I want to show you how to create the sum over several categories. Yeah. Okay. Now we have the effort. We can select multiple efforts. We can select the mileage, maybe a mileage and another material as much as I want. And then I can select up here. I can select view summary. And view summary will then show a sum, for example, of the selected efforts, always sorted by chargeable and non-chargeable, expense, material, mileage. Also here the kilometers. I think it's missing the kilometer text here. And also the chargeable time for the mileage and the non-chargeable. If I remove a mileage, it will immediately get reflected. That's quite a nice addition here. On top of that, you can also create, for example, a copy of a time effort or anything else, but just going into the line and anywhere, click the right mouse button and you get some nice menus options, mostly the copy option, where this will create the copy of the given effort for the given service call and activity. Yeah, seems to be slow today. All right, that's the new time and material journal. Let us go back to our slide and jump into the next feature. That's the service map. I must say I like what SAP is doing with the maps. They are constantly improving the map feature, making it better and better with each release. This time we have a new feature in the so-called ESRI maps. Remember, ESRI maps are overlay maps which you can use on top of the existing Google map that is used in FSM. So you can have your own map overlay. And now for the first time, it is possible to also show the routes in ESRI maps. This will help you with a better planning experience also in the ESRI maps and an overview about the technician's route, because you can also expand the route here with the arrow and show the parts of the technician's routing. On top of that, there is already a list of regions shown, the regions that you have set up in FSM in the planning area. And this is version 1 of the regions features. Speaking about regions, in version 2, which I think will come with one of the next releases, it will then also be possible to create a polygon, draw a map on the map, draw a polygon figure, and assign it to a region so that you can have a nice graphical representation of a given region. For the routing, let's go back into the product, and I'm going to open the dispatching board again. And now I'm going to show the route for a certain technician in the ESRI map. So let's move back to 2 days here, make it a bit better visible. And now right mouse click, view route will show the route for this technician here in the service map. And as you can see, this is now the route in the ESRI map. You see this is a Swiss topographical map on top of the Google map. And now you also have the route here for the technician. You can expand the route by clicking here and looking at the different legs of the route and how much time it will take to travel from one to the other. By the way, if you want to know how to enable the ESRI maps, it's pretty basic. You go into the settings and configuration up here. And then on the left, after it's loaded, click on the map feature or setting. And here, when it's loading, you will then see the ESRI map. You have to select the map provider up here. Instead of Google Maps, you will select ESRI. And here you will have to specify the map ID of this ArcGIS map. Let's move on to our next topic, and that is the mobile. Well, on mobile, we have a new screen configuration coming up for the screen which handles items and stock. And this helps to customize the fields, ordering of the fields, names, add UDFs, and other things as you are used to in screen configuration. If I quickly show that, screen configuration is in administration. I will just search for item, and I can see the items and stock. New screen here. I go here to the pencil to start up the screen configuration for the item and stock screen, and I can now start customizing it. Next in the mobile area is the inline mileage edit and the distance unit. You might have used it or heard about it in quite some screens on the mobile. You can go from non-edit mode into edit mode by just doing a long tap in the screen and then start editing and saving it. This will shorten the time used to go into edit mode, and in fact was just recently asked by a partner because the customer complained it would be too much of a hassle to go through the 3 dots, then click on the menu edit, go back to the screen. So this is a nice and welcome addition. On top of that, the unit is now also kilometer or miles, but also can be empty if you don't want to specify anything. So to show that quickly how it presents itself on the mobile, I will open my mobile. You should see the mobile screen now. I'm going into this assignment by tapping on it and scrolling down to the mileages. I'm opening an existing mileage. So here is my existing mileage, and I can then do a long press as soon as, let me create a new one from scratch first. So here I will just create any mileage like that, save it. And when you then open that mileage again, you see you want to now edit again. Normally you would have to go to the 3 dots up here, click on edit. Okay, now you're in edit mode. You can do that, but it's much easier now to go just into the mileage again. And instead of going to the 3 dots, let's assume I want to change the from and to. I just do a long press and I'm already in the edit mode where I can then change things and save it. Try that out. It's also available in other screens. I think in the effort and expense screen, you can try it out, the long press, and hopefully it will also work in there. Yeah, I also wanted to quickly show the unit that you've seen that going into a mileage, going into that one here, and you will now see the unit here. Doing a long press on it, and I can change it from kilometer to mile or nothing at all. With that said, we will come to our last topic, the one I'm very interested in, and I'm happy that it is now here, the policy designer. Well, the policy designer is here since quite some time, but for the first time now it is possible to edit and create your own policies from scratch if you want to do that. In the past, you could already copy existing policies and edit them, but now you can also create completely fresh ones from scratch. Editing and creating policies, on the other hand, requires an additional license. So if you're interested in that, please contact us and we can have a call. Well, the advantages is certainly that you can create your own policies to have your own use case and can have your own guidelines. But also, which I find interesting, is to look at the existing policies, how they are done, and most importantly, how they work behind the scenes. If I talk about these policies, before we go into the policy editor, what do I mean? If I use, for example, the right mouse click on an activity, find matching technicians, you know, on the right-hand side, you will have a list of results based on the distance plugin, or that's the name policy. So here you have the policies which are predefined in the system. You could also select skills, so it would optimize for the available skills for the technicians in here. And now you can already see there is one which I created myself. And that means with the policy editor, you can create such policies yourself. They're not only to be used here, but also if you have a fully automatic algorithm in place for planning with business rules, they can also be used there. Now let's look at the policy editor itself. I will go into the planning and dispatching area menu, and I will talk about foundational services. So let's click here. Then down here you have the auto scheduling tab, and then the menu called auto scheduling policies. That's where you need to go. You have the 4 standard modules or policies which are already available, and this one here I created myself. First, let's look at a standard policy, for example, the skills. If you click on it, you can open it and you can look at how it is done, especially the rules. For example, a resource should not be excluded, it needs mandatory skills, parallel jobs are not allowed, and so on. And if this all is met, then there are the objectives, which gives a score. And that means if somebody has also matching optional skills, he will have more scoring and therefore will be higher ranked in the list of results, for example, in the planning board. Go back. And now this one here is one which I created myself. I went here to the create button and created it myself. Opening it, clicking on edit. And now I can edit my own objective. I can add more rules here. And if I want to know what a certain rule means, there is always the explanation behind this little I here, which will explain in detail what it's all about. Furthermore, there's a lot of documentation in the SAP help screens of FSM. So if you want to use that, make sure to read through that topic in the help portal also. And then the objectives, here I have just the driving time, means it will check, give more points for driving times which are smaller. You can then add more objectives here on the right-hand side, for example, driving time exponential, and you will need to read through it, what it means to put something meaningful in it. And then you can save that, and your new policy is then released. You can also have multiple versions, just the same as in the checklists, for example. And this policy is then available after that in the planning board, if you did everything correctly. On the right-hand side, for example, when you use the find matching algorithm, like going down here, right mouse click, find matching algorithm. And clicking here, you will see that my new policy is now available. All right. This is the last topic, and I would like to thank you for your attention, and I wish everyone a nice day. See you next time. Have a good time. Goodbye, everyone.